Do you think you could reach up there and put your butt on there, as it says?
I'm not super psyched to find myself here talking about male genitalia again.
So what happened?
So we've got an update.
That we're not in the Everest or the Land Cruiser. We're in a... G'day.
Welcome back to another video, guys. Now, we feel it's fairly safe to say that most Australians will know the name Ned Kelly, but you might be interested to learn that even in his own time, Ned Kelly was not the most feared man in the bush. This weekend, we're taking the van into the heart of Dan Morgan country, and we're going to trace the footsteps of this man who many describe as Australia's most bloodthirsty bushranger.
I got my head in a cloud so high, feet on the ground, but I still get by. The rules were made for someone else to try, but not me, not me. They said slow down, son, take
I thought this was rather clever. I actually thought it was the local council that did it, but someone's having a bit of a joke. Caution, bushrangers found in this area. I like that.
Is it a bushranger?
I'm calling it a bushranger.
Okay. Now, due to the many aliases that Morgan used throughout his lifetime as a bushranger, it has been fairly difficult to ascertain his parentage and many of the details of his early life. However, most historians seem to agree that Morgan was probably born John or Jack Fuller in about 1833 to Mary Owen and George Fuller, and then he was later adopted out. Morgan's known criminal history began on the 10th of June in 1854 when, under the name John Smith, he was convicted of highway robbery at Castlemaine and sentenced to 12 years hard labour. Now, he served time on the prison hulks The President and The Success, and later at the Pentridge prison. Now, the prison hulks were decommissioned, unseaworthy warships that were converted into floating prisons to assist the overcrowding that was happening on prisons on land. Now, Morgan was released early on a ticket of leave for good behaviour in about June of 1860. But he immediately broke parole by failing to report to police in the Ovens district. Instead, he drifts off into the bush, lives rough and steals. So we're here at Morgan's Lookout, and this massive outcrop of granite was used as a vantage point by Morgan to scope out for potential victims and evade police.
We're about 25 k's north of Albury-Wodonga, just outside of a little town called Walla Walla. So good they named it twice.
Now, in August of 1860, Dan Morgan steals a valuable horse from a man named Evan Evans.
Those parents were very cruel to him.
Yes, I think that's the real crime. Anyway, Evans and a fellow squatter track Morgan down to his camp and confront him over the theft. And the standoff ends with a shotgun blast tearing through Morgan's arm.
Don't you come any closer, I'll blow your brains out! Stop! In the Queen's name! What are you, bloody madman? Is a son gun to you?
Now, although he manages to escape into the Riverina bush, this wound and the humiliation that came with it would fuel a revenge obsession in Morgan that burned for years. From mid-1863, Morgan is identified in a string of arm holdups through the Riverina and northeast Victoria, including that of a police magistrate, Henry Bayliss, near Urana. Now, a reward for £200 is posted for him. However, he's yet to be identified as a murderer. Morgan gained the reputation as a traveller's friend, as his criminal acts seemed to target unfair employers and those that mistreated swaggies. An example of this was at a Burrumbuttock station, where Morgan forced the owner, Thomas Gibson, to write cheques for his employees totalling some £400, which would be roughly 50,000 Australian dollars in today's economy.
Well, Mr. Gibson, is that a checkbook you have there beside you?
Yes.
Well, I'd like you to write 8 cheques.
Just right!
Who do I make them out to?
Pass out the checks, you bastard!
And don't you be knocking me too hard either. I'll put one right through your ear.
Now, Morgan's tendency towards impulsive cruelty, violent outbursts, and unpredictable mood swings earned him the title of Mad Dan Morgan. Now, based off my research, the specific moniker of Mad Dog Morgan wasn't introduced or popularised until later in a 1976 Australian film with the same name.
The structure here, there's a sign up the top, $186,000 it cost in around 2018 to build. Pretty impressive. I'm hoping to jump online to see if there's any photos showing the old structure, because as a kid when I came here, I'm sure it was just a rickety one-handled railing that we walked up, but this is quite impressive, this new one. Would have been quite scary to put it up, I imagine, hanging off the side of these rocks. It's also worth noting that we're on private property here, but the Peck family that live out here allow people onto their farm to check out this pretty impressive rock.
Now, by January of 1864, the reward for information that led to the apprehension of Morgan had increased to £500, which, again, rough calculation, about $60,000 in
Today's money.
Today's money, yeah.
So we left Morgan's Lookout, the big rock over near Walla Walla. We travelled about 20 minutes east of there to a little town called Culcairn. And just on the other side of that, we've pulled up to have a look at, what's this?
This is the John McLean Memorial Site here on the Culcairn-Holbrook Road. And this is outside of a large, or what was a large pastoral station called Round Hill. And it was on the 19th of June 1864 that Morgan held up the station, wreaked his havoc. But the turning point really came as he mounted his horse to leave. As he did so, his gun discharged, and believing he was being fired upon, Morgan, intoxicated on the station's stolen rum, panicked and opened fire. And in the ensuing chaos, the station manager, Sam Watson, was shot in the hand, and a neighbouring station hand was shot in the leg. Now, a briefly remorseful Morgan permitted a young station hand, John McLean, to ride off and fetch a doctor. However, Morgan soon became suspicious and convinced himself that McLean would in fact alert police to his presence there at the station. So he rode off after McLean, shot him in the back, and McLean died 3 days later. Now, this behaviour, I suppose, of Morgan is a stark example of the paranoia and the volatility that shaped Morgan's final months.
And here, I've just read at the bottom of that sign, the actual location of the grave is beneath a kurrajong tree to the right of this site near Round Hill. Now, Round Hill's just over there to the right of us, just down behind those trees. And I've no idea what a kurrajong tree looks like, but obviously that's the actual gravesite. And here is some iron steel work that has no connection at all. It's just here for us to put a sign in front of.
Well, it's a memorial site.
It is a memorial site.
Now, McLean's death was Morgan's first confirmed murder, and it changed everything. Just 5 days later, on the 25th of June 1864, Morgan shot and killed a Sergeant David McGinty near Tumbarumba after the sergeant recognised him. Now, this caused the reward placed upon him to skyrocket to a staggering £1,000, which equates to approximately 120,000 Australian dollars today. Now, just 3 months later, in September of 1864, just 20 minutes north of where we are here, in a town called Henty, police that were searching for Morgan were shot up by Morgan, and a senior sergeant, Thomas Smith, was mortally wounded. And that site has been marked by a memorial stone on the Pleasant Hills Road. So in April of 1865, Morgan makes the decision to track down the two men who had shot him in the arm 4 years earlier that we spoke of. That was Evans and his neighbour. So he first hits Evans Station, which is on the King River, and runs amok. He lights haystacks on fire and imprisons everybody in the homestead, only to find that Evans is in fact not home.
Oh, where's that bastard Evan Evans? You know, he tried to kill me 4 years ago.
He's not here, Morgan.
He won't be back for weeks.
So the next day, he attacks a station here at Pichelba, which I think I'm saying that right. He imprisons the family there on the homestead, forces them to feed him and entertain him, with the owner's daughter playing the piano for him. Now, Morgan stayed the night, and he was unaware that the homestead's nurse or housemaid had slipped out. Accounts of how she managed to do this vary, but she had headed off to inform the station's co-owner, who happened to live nearby. So when Morgan leaves the house the next day, that's the 9th of April 1865, he is met with a group of police and armed volunteers. Now, Morgan is shot from behind, with the bullet piercing his shoulder and travelling through to his throat, by a station hand called John Wendland. Now, Morgan died later that afternoon, and he was just 35 years old. Now, interesting fact is that John Wendland, the station hand that shot Dan Morgan, actually received a £500 reward. And if you remember from earlier today, that's the equivalent of approximately 50 to 60,000 Australian dollars in today's money. There was such intense public demand that Morgan's body was actually publicly displayed for a short time here in Wangaratta. His body was propped against wool bales, and a revolver was placed in hand, and some accounts even say that matchsticks were placed to hold his eyes open to ensure a decent photograph while people posed with his body. Now, souvenir hunters went even further and flayed his beard, and his head was later severed and sent to the Melbourne University for anatomical study. However, from all accounts that I've read, whilst a death mask was made, by the time that the head reached the university, it had decomposed to such an extent that it was really not much use for study at all. Now, of course, it would be remiss of me not to mention the most infamous rumour, the never substantiated claim that Morgan's scrotum...
His what?
Don't make me say it again.
I couldn't hear.
His scrotum was removed for use as a tobacco pouch. Now, this is wildly referred to as fact in popular media. However, historians have classified it as a baseless rumour, as no physical artefact has ever been verified and no official record has ever been found. Then again, when you think about it, if it had happened, it's hard to believe anyone rushing off to officially document it. But the whole concept's just super gross, and I'm not super psyched to find myself here talking about male genitalia again.
What have we found here, Shell?
So, Dan Morgan was buried here at the Wangaratta Cemetery on the 14th of April 1865, minus his head.
And something else.
What?
His scrotum.
Oh.
Idiot.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the story of Mad Dan Morgan, or Mad Dog Morgan, and any other alias that he went by throughout his lifetime. I think the story of Dan Morgan and the stories of the Bushrangers in general endure so long after they died, because the fear and the fascination that they left behind just refuses to die. I think it leaves us with the question of whether Bushrangers were truly evil men, or whether they were the damaged products of the harsh times and society that shaped them.
That's way too deep for this time on a Saturday afternoon. Now, you promised the pub.
I did, yes. So we are heading out to a place called Boreman. You're just going to have to comment below whether I'm pronouncing that correctly. To Free Camp, which is only about a 300-metre walk to a brewery. So,
yeah,
let's go.
So what happened?
So we've got an update.
We didn't get to the brewery.
Well, we did.
Oh, we did get there.
We got out there. The wiki camp is actually at the golf course there at Boreham.
Yeah, the free camp, yeah.
And just as we were parking up, a lovely lady comes over to us and informs us that there is going to be an 18th party happening at the golf club rooms there. Now, the place looks like it's abandoned 11 months of the year. So, of course, the night that we decide that we might stay there, there's going to be a raving 18th. Yeah. So we decided to to abandon that idea.
She did invite us. She said
she
we
invited us to the party, which was super nice of her.
Lovely. That's the country people, isn't it? Come and join us. Come and have beers.
So anyway, we've had to pivot, and in the end, we have been saved by the Glenrowan Hotel. So the Glenrowan Hotel has caravan parking out the back. We've never stayed there, but we have visited there a couple of times when we found ourselves in and around Glenrowan. So that's where we're heading now. We're about 10 minutes away, so we'll catch you soon. All right, good morning. So as we said, we parked up in the car park at the back of the Glenrowan Hotel here, free. Obviously they just ask that you go in and, you know, buy a drink. In our case, we had some dinner as well, really well priced meals. The car park out the back's flat gravel. We've had quite a bit of rain in the past week. So, you know, even with quite a bit of rain, this place stays dry. So think about it if you're ever in the area. Now to get out, rather than go out the front from the hotel, we're actually going to sneak out the back through here. The owners told us about this last night. Now, you might notice that we're not in the Everest, and I'll let Ben tell you what's going on with the Everest. Another little update we didn't plan on having to do. So I've taken some footage just to give you an example of how much rain the northeast Victoria has received in the past week here along the highway, the Hume Highway, coming away from Wang. Just been absolutely phenomenal amount of rain. And I'll try and find how many mils that they received in the last week and pop it on the bottom of the screen here.
Yeah, that's kind of inhibited some of the free camps that we can go to on a I suppose wintry month like this. Some of them you don't want to get in the wet paddocks and muddy spots. So yeah, we were limited last night with where we could pull up stumps. And the other people that are watching that have a keen eye on vehicles would have noticed that we're not in the Everest or the Land Cruiser. We're in a Ranger. The Everest has gone back to Ford for the 4th time trying to get this new engine right. So yeah, they're having a hell of a time installing this new engine and getting it running right. The timing, I think they call it the timing chain cover, I think is the word I'm trying to think of, has been leaking oil every time they try and tighten it up. So hopefully number 4 is the magic number. So we've got the lone vehicle for this weekend, a Ranger, which is going fine. The Nullarbor continues to take its pound of flesh, you know, 6-8 months down the track. Still reminds us. Stay tuned. Who knows what will be in next video? Yeah, that's right. So we're going to wrap this video up here, guys. Thanks again for coming along. We hoped you enjoyed our tracing of Dan Morgan's footsteps. His what? His footsteps. His footsteps. He's got little tiny feet, they're footsteps. Through the river and northeast Victoria. So jump on your phone or your TV, whatever you're watching this on, and hit that like button. If you haven't already followed along, press the subscribe. You'll get notified when we post new videos. So, and tune in next video. We are heading to explore some more history of a town relatively close by to us where the blue gums are growing and the Murrumbidgee is flowing. We'll catch you then. No idea what you're talking about.